Hey Magic fans, welcome back. Gonna do a little something different today. Today I want to talk a little bit about proper card storage for your collectibles, mainly focused around Magic the Gathering. Can be used for Pokemon, Flesh and Blood, Wise, whatever you want to call it. Just some quick pointers and tips for you guys. Be a real quick video, hopefully. What I'd like to do is just kind of get into some of the things that I do to store my cards, because as you know, I am an avid player. So I collect cards from every set. I open boxes, sell some on eBay. But I do save cards to actually play myself. So the first thing I like to talk about is binders. Um, you can get all kinds of different binders. I don't have a whole lot of them because as I went through the time, I've realized that most Magic binders that you buy, I hate to say this, but pretty well useless because they're really just overpriced and they have all these extra features that you don't need if you just want card storage. Now, if you're going to do some trading and so you want to zip up binders so nobody steals your stuff, yada, 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 that's a different video later. We'll talk about actually carrying stuff at a tournament. But for this video in particular, card storage, what I got here is one of the things that I normally use. This is just your simple, as you notice, where's it at here? You can see right here, 1.5 inch binder. It says about 330 sheet capacity. Yes, that's talking about paper, obviously. It's a basic binder you can get at Walmart. Cost about $3, so it's relatively cheap. It looks like this on the inside. And the key to this that you guys want to take note of is see how these rings are? The rings right here, they're flat. They're not round like this side. Now, you can get rings that are round all the way around, and those binders are cheaper. They're maybe $1 cheaper, but the thing that's going to happen when you store cards in binders like this, that round ring right there is actually going to put a dent in your card. Several people have always talked about it, and they're like, oh, it doesn't happen. Trust me, it happens. I've had it happen to my cards. So I've had to make sure that when I buy binders, I buy them with this straight shot here. You know, like any other binder, they open like normal, right? But you got to have this. Very important, guys. The rest of it's not really needed, and you don't really need this if you don't want. Another thing to take note of is 1 inch is normally not enough on this binder space right here to actually put one whole set of cards in. You can get bigger binders if you want. They do cost more, and put 2 or 3 sets or a whole block in. And I did that at the beginning too. But the binders cost a lot, and I also found out that normally the blocks are so big they didn't fit in there very well. So what I've resorted to is every set gets its own little binder like this. It costs $2 or $3. Pretty simple. So with that said, what do you store them in? Well, you want to make sure, let me get this stuff out of the floor here, that you store them in a sleeve very similar to this. So this is your typical Ultra Pro sleeve. I tend to like Ultra Pros. I like the way that they feel. I like that they're non-acid. You can see there how at the top, Ultra Pro, hey, send them a sponsor. And anyway, so this is the kind of sleeve that I would use. Basically, I would just open this up like so. You know, before I put cards in it, put it in there nice and easy, just like that. And then I would store my cards. That way, once again, you want to make sure, too, that when you go through your binders and your sleeves and things like that, be careful how hard you are when you move your cards over, because this side is rounded. You can damage your cards over here if they're on that side. So just having this side is not good enough, because if you do one of those numbers, you can damage cards. Always make sure you store your cards properly, just like that. If you want to know what Ultra Pro looks like, it looks a little something like this, 9-packet pages. I buy these by the box at 100 pages. It's cheaper that way. You can get one of these for about $20. At least the last time I bought one, it was $20. That's pretty cheap, and to be honest with you, the last time I bought one of these was like over a year ago. So like 100 pages gets you pretty far. So with that said, we'll go ahead and close that up. And I'll actually show you now an actual real binder I got that I use. Grab one out of stash here. So this is an actual binder. So just like before, you can see here, 1.5 inch. Just like before, Durable View. Matter of fact, it's exactly the same brand. When you open this binder up, this is what it looks like. So this is Zendikar. Wow, brand new set. So if you look here, you can see how the cards are not against that ring and they're stacked on top of each other. That prevents that damage I was talking about. So this way you can pull the cards over nice and easy. Now, one thing I might not suggest is maybe how I store my cards. Now, you got to remember, guys, I store these cards as play cards. So I try to keep them as mint as possible, but if you get the right kind of Ultra Pro sleeves, if you look in here, I store front to back, and I store 8 cards in a sleeve. So I just put them like this. I make sure I pull the top up, make sure there's no damage, and I slide them in. Maybe you want to do just 4 and not use the back side and just go across one at a time. That will double the amount of sleeves you have to use. And as you notice right now, doing the way I did it, 1.5 inch is just about right. Now imagine if you had to double the size of this, it might still be about as thick, but the plastic from the sleeves will be a little thicker, so it actually might not close right, so you might need a 2-inch binder. But for me, this works just fine. This is how I store my cards. Also, you got to be careful. You know, make sure you lift all the way up and over. Don't get them caught here. Tear your binding. Once again, just to prove it to you, this is a Mythic. There's 4 on the back. It's a rare. Once again, when I put them in, I put my finger in the hole first, pop it up. That way the sides don't get caught on the way in. Nice and easy, and slide it in. You can even wrap them up like that if you wanted to. So it's a great thing about it. Now there are other options as well. Let me get this out of the way and I'll show you. So there are cardboard boxes you can buy if you don't like to use sleeves. The bad thing about these, you know, the tops are all at one side. So like I was doing earlier when I was pulling it up like this, depending on how many cards you have in there and how tight it is, the cards can actually slide off the top and get damaged. So I always make sure when I store my cards, I store them flat, or I store them on the side like that. So with that said, this here is your basic box. This is just a random box I wrote on and I keep reusing. So once again, cardboard box. It's got some dividers in it. This box is literally just full Artlands. You know, and oh wait a minute. Well, apparently this is also a. It's got the full Artlands in the back, but apparently this is a 4 set of commons and uncommons for. What is that? Eternal Masters? Something like that. And see if you pull this little section out here, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is another way I store my cards too. If I have the time, if I like it. So there's nothing really wrong with this, but the problem with storing your cards like this is when you get to the point, you'll have one side that will have space. Plus, as you notice, the cards kind of rock in there a little bit. So if you move your cards around a lot, especially in a box like this, you can do some damage. Also, it is cardboard, which means it can attract moisture. It's also not very protective against anything wet. If something wet was to fall in this, yeah, it's going to protect it for the most part because it is thick cardboard. But if there's rain or a storm, or maybe you got this outside and it comes out of whatever you're carrying it in and it falls in a puddle of water, it's probably not going to do you a whole lot of good, to be honest with you. Which is why I prefer to use backpacks when I travel, but we'll talk about that later. So this is the other method. I think both of them are fine, whatever your preference is. And just make sure that whatever preference you do use, that you store your cards properly. That way they don't bend, they don't warp. Keep them on a flat surface. Try to keep them out of humidity and things like that. That causes warping from moisture content. Something else to think about too, and I'll go over this later, is deck boxes. But once you've decided on how you want to store your cards, whether it be in a box like this, if you do use a box, make sure you put some padding and stuff in there to keep them shimmied up so you don't hear a bunch of that. Like I said, this is mainly lands and uncommons, so it's not. And I don't move around very much with these, so I don't really care. But something else I like to use, and I'll show you now here under the table. Excuse my trash from the box openings. This is the container I like to stick my stuff in. Notice, you know, binders are upright or laying down. You can see I do have more cardboard boxes in there for storage. But the big thing I like about this is just a basic tote that you can get from Walmart. The big thing for me is using a tote like this. You know, you can pop it down, keep your cats and your animals out of it. If you do spill something on top of it, it's got the overhanging lip, so the water doesn't get inside. For some reason, if you have a basement or you have your cards stored somewhere on the first floor of your house near some kind of water source, like a bathroom or something, or your house floods or whatever, God forbid, unnatural disaster happens to anybody, This plastic, I mean, your water's got to be at least, almost 2 feet high before it gets to this lip and maybe get in. Some of these you can buy with clamps on the side to hold them on tight. So, all in all, guys, that's my advice to you when it comes to your card storage. I know it may seem like a lot, but honestly, this is like, $10. Your binder up here, you got $1. These are $20. In the long run, spending $40 to, keep track. I got more over here, you can see. Got a couple $20, $30 to make sure your Magic cards that are worth a lot of money actually keep their value is really worthwhile, and I seriously suggest you guys look into it, because nothing's worse than losing a whole collection of valuable cards because you drop it in a puddle or somebody spills pop on it because your friends are over, or God forbid anything else that might happen. So with that said, guys, thanks a lot for your time. Remember, this is the Captain speaking. Give me a like and a subscribe. Be kind to others. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you next time.